All right. Well, we're a little bit early, Linda, and I know it's really fun just talking with you, but I am ready. Are you ready?
I am ready. I
Okay, good.
have probably been
Awesome.
ready for much longer than I've admitted, and now finally here.
Yay! I'm so excited. It is 11 o'clock my time, 8 a.m. Pacific time, and we are so excited. My name is Julie Landy, and welcome, welcome, welcome to the Vision Talks. This is a series of talks and conversations and interviews and lessons that really are for the faith filled soul longing, faith filled adventurous soul. Let me get that right, longing for more. And I'm the founder of Live Your Vision, and it is a coaching program that helps women discover, develop, and distribute their own unique gifts for greater impact, income, and fulfillment. That is our plan. So I'm so thrilled to have you all here today. I see you all coming in. Thank you so much. Happy Saturday. It feels really good. It's a beautiful, crisp fall day where I am. I'm coming to you live from Atlanta. And Linda, my guest, is in Chattanooga, Tennessee today. I'm in Georgia and she's in Tennessee. So we are here today to just hopefully inspire you. And quite frankly, this is a conversation that I've been wanting to have with Linda for quite some time. And I had a portion of this conversation actually within our community several weeks back when Linda actually was completing her program, her work with us. And what we do when we do our Live Your Vision programs, any of them, each participant is required to do a final presentation. And I was so privileged to be able to participate and be at her final presentation. It was fabulous. And that conversation ensued from there. And as a result, I thought, oh, this is a conversation that we shouldn't have in private or in our small group. This is a conversation that I think many will be interested in. So I'm thrilled to introduce to you Linda Fields Steelman. Linda, you want to say hi?
Hello, getting a message out there.
It's wonderful. I'm going to have her chat with us in just a second. She herself, as I mentioned, is a recent graduate. And I have a couple of thoughts for her. And part of why I do this is because so many of you ask me, how does this work? What are you doing there? What is this all about? I hear the buzz. I get the excitement. You might know somebody now that's been a part of our community or is doing some work with us. And there's quite a buzz going on. And so many people are interested and have asked me, what is it that you do? So I thought the best way to do that, to explain to those of you that are listening what it is that we do, is just to even ask Linda some questions, have her explain, do it, illustrate it for you, why she joined us, what maybe she got from the work with us, some of her biggest takeaways, and then really what she's doing as a result of the work. These are our questions that I love to ask because I think they illustrate well what we're doing here. But one of the things that I love to do is really highlight women that have done the work. And this is definitely Linda. And she'll share more about that in just a second. But what we do is we look at each of you like you're a treasure box, a treasure chest, because that's what you are. In God's eyes, you are such part of his treasure, his amazing treasure. And so to unwrap what God has given is like a gift. And we feel like we get to help you give your gift to the world. And God has the gifts that God has placed within you. It is an entire year of studying yourself. I will say that to some people freaks them out because you're like, I'm going to be so self-centered, or I'm going to be so, a whole year. How could that be? How can that be beneficial to anybody? It seems rather self-absorbed. But the truth is it creates an overflow, and everyone around you is the beneficiary of this work. So I just wanted to give you a chance to realize this work is hardly self-centered. As a matter of fact, I look at it as our responsibility, our obligation to understand the gifts that God has given us, to learn how to use them, and then to distribute them to others. So without further ado, I could go on and on and on about Linda Fields Steelman's resume and Linda herself. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to have Linda tell you a little bit about her and from her own mouth. So Linda, can you say hello again and just welcome in? I see new people coming in all the time. And then tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, I will tell you about me. I want to say that what honestly what Julie said about the treasure is it put in mind God's face. He's like the perfect mother, father, grandparent. He's put these beautiful treasures in you. And he's like, a grown-up on Christmas morning waiting for the child to unwrap the present and realize just how great it is under the wrapping. And it turns out the present he gave you is you. And he's delighted when we discover the strengths and talents that he's put there. And the cool thing is that it's as individual as our fingerprints. We know nobody has the same fingerprints. He wants this unique experiential relationship with each one of us that he cannot have with anybody else. And that's something that has been part of my heart since I've been a disciple. Certainly I've meditated on that for the last 34 or 5 years. And when I remember that, I realized that before I was in Live Your Vision, and wait, I'm 70. Okay, so that means I didn't start Live Your Vision until I was 69. A lot of before you were in Live Your Vision, there's a lot of stuff before I was in Live Your Vision. So there were, in school, I was voted most talented, best speaker. And I had this attitude about life that it was supposed to get better and better. And part of that was that, well, when I was in senior year was better than junior year, 10th grade was better than 9th grade. So, that's the way life was supposed to be. And I remember sitting in a cafeteria at school, and I heard this girl at my table saying, I never want to get old. And I said, what? And I'm thinking, what's the option? Dying early? And I'm out loud, I said, well, I do. The longer you live, the more new things you can try and do more things and grow wise. And life is fun. And she was so sure she was right. She said, Linda, you're going to be so slow. And I kind of was confused by that. I said, so I'll have slow fun. I just didn't understand what the problem was with that. And so as I was a person who always liked to save the best to last, and I know throughout my life, stories have been a big part of my growing and learning and healing emotionally, which I didn't always realize. I loved the happy ending. You had to have the happy ending at the end of the story. Well, as life went on, I did notice that life was not always getting better and better. I did have some wonderful things happen. Right out of college, I did start getting into plays, professional plays, and then union productions. I did meet my husband in theater. I was married to another actor, and we had a beautiful baby girl in New York City, far away from home and family and everybody from high school and college who believed in me. And I was not who I was anymore. And I loved being a mom, but there's a big growth spurt there. And also you're letting go of a lot of things that maybe I didn't need to let go of, or at least I needed to remember that maybe I needed to know that would come back in my life at some point. But I started to lose hope. I felt like I was getting deeper and deeper in this pit that I couldn't figure out how to climb out of. And God always finds a way, and you've probably even experienced this outside of Live Your Vision. God finds this way to give you clues, to remind you of that spark of excitement that happens when you do something that, I forgot how much I love this, and it reminds you of what you're good at. Something comes up, somebody says something, you realize, yeah, that's right. I've always wanted to do that. You're doing it. Maybe I'll do it with you. And God does carry you. He leaves these breadcrumbs out.
Yeah, it's true.
And when you are really paying attention, you get very encouraged, but it's also very easy to get discouraged. And so I've been through this cycle of being so encouraged by God and then feeling stuck again, and then really encouraged and fired up about what God's showing me, and then trying it and running into barriers and thinking, well, eventually and then kind of circling and kind of saying, well, maybe it's not the right time for that. And you put it on the back burner, and then you feel stuck again. And now I have to say, I'll tell you the biggest clue God ever gave me. Actually, there are two of them, and they're kind of linked. I was 51 years old when I had given up on substitute teaching in California because fully credentialed teachers were being laid off. They were, they made the substitute teacher lists full. I couldn't go back to doing something I loved. And I actually got to go back to acting for a year and a half. I got to do 2 union plays at the age of 50, and I earned my equity health insurance. And God was reminding me, if you want this, it's there.
That's right.
And I just sort of thought, yeah, but I kind of miss being in the classroom. I've been working in the school system, but not in the classroom, and I miss it. And I saw this ad for a private school, and I thought, maybe can't hurt to find out if they need substitutes. Well, this private high school, not only loved me as a substitute, and I loved being in the classroom again. And it was like God was really showing me, this is where, your strengths are being used. This is a good place to be. And they were looking for a drama teacher. Now,
Look at that.
The current drama teacher thought they needed she'd been trying to tell them they needed a part-time drama teacher to help out. And I was looking, that would be perfect. I could still audition. But when they offered me a full-time drama teacher position where I teach IB theater and acting and a high school level and direct 2 plays a year and one of them a musical, and it was like, I got the job, and I'm driving home and I'm seeing this billboard for the lottery, 300 million this week. And I thought, oh my gosh, if I won the lottery, I would keep my job. I 51 years old, and this was something, I didn't have a master's in theater. I never should have gotten this job. And God plops it in my lap, dream job at 51. I thought this train had passed me by. And I've had talks with other people about this. Sometimes you feel that way, and the train has never passed you by. No right. Train is too fast for God to not, okay, I can get you there. Well, unfortunately, about 5 years after I left that drama teaching position and went into LA to continue auditioning and substitute teaching, and I was so much more fired up being in the classroom than I ever was getting ready for an audition. I started to feel like, why am I even going to auditions? I don't like the business very much. I mean, I'm good at acting when I have the part, but I don't like the business. I love being in the classroom, but God had so many big ideas that he was putting in me that I knew I had to get out there. Bigger messages than, there were great messages to tell kids how the power of their choices would take them anywhere they wanted to go. And yet I didn't really believe I had any credibility. I wanted to help kids 18 through 25 without family. And I had an idea about that. I talked to some people about that. Secretaries would talk to me on the phone and say, oh, that sounds wonderful. But their bosses would never call me back. And I would just feel like, I'm just some substitute teacher. This is how old I am. I have no money. I don't know. Who would listen to me anyway? And that's where I was kind of at right. When I turned on the 2011 Kentucky Derby. I didn't know it was on. I found out, oh my gosh, I can watch it live. This is the live Kentucky Derby. And I got some popcorn and sat down, and I listened to all the commentary. There were preliminary races, but I started remembering, God was like giving me flashbacks. Remember how much you love horses, and Black Beauty was my favorite book as a kid, and grew up and loved horse movies. And I thought, oh gosh, it was just a handful of years back. I identified so strongly with Seabiscuit. Seabiscuit was this horse in the 20th century that was discarded as useless. Then it was bought by someone, retrained, healed, trained with a new jockey. Then she got a whole slew of major wins in her career. And she was listed one of the top 25 horses of the whole 20th century. And I just identified so strongly with that story. And stories help us so much. They do fire us up, and I think God uses them. Well, I'm primed for the Derby. This is a 2-minute race, right? Everybody's geared up for like an hour or so for this 2-minute race. And the bell rings. These 19 horses. You're only eligible if you're 3 years old. And so these 3-year-old horses are out to prove I'm the best 3-year-old in racing this year. And they're tearing down the track. And there's these 5 horses that are like slowly, like one of them gets in first place and then another one overtakes them there in second place. And the guy in 4th place or 5th place is moving up. And now they're in 4th place or 3rd place. And the same 5 horses, their names are being blared over the loudspeaker. And for a minute and a half or more, I'm hearing the same 5 horses and I'm watching them fighting for first place. And there is another horse in 17th place. It's 15 seconds before the end of the race, okay? This horse in 17th place, named Animal Kingdom, notices a hole in the horses around him. And when he gets the signal from his jockey, he goes for it. And it was like out of nowhere, this horse was eating up the track, passing horse after horse. And now the commentators were noticing it's 7 seconds left. And the guys are yelling, "An Animal Kingdom is roaring down the center of the track." And I'm like practically out of my seat. And he's going past. In that 7 seconds, he ate up the track past every single one of those 5 horses, lengths ahead of the one in first place. Animal Kingdom did it, And I'm like, God, that's, when you're at worship service and you point to God while you're singing, that's where I was at. I said, you're telling me that is me. You can do anything. Why didn't I remember what you did when you gave me the drama teacher position? That you can take me anywhere you want to go. Doesn't matter where I am in the race. Doesn't matter how old I am. It doesn't matter how much money I have. Doesn't matter who knows me and who doesn't know me. You see the end of the race before anybody else does. Tell me what to do. Why was I waiting for some bigger sign? I'm waiting for a sign that God wants me to maybe try again with this idea. And I'm a grandmother now. And I said, this is it. I'll never need another sign, right? And yet I have to say, this is 2011. When did you start your program, Julie?
2016.
So 5 years later, she starts her program. And I've circled again I've moved to Michigan. I'm helping my daughter get through nursing school. I'm helping with grandchildren. I can't afford to keep up with my bills unless I work part-time, but I'm also serving my daughter, so I have to take early Social Security. And this is where I'm at right now. And I see these things on Facebook, and eventually. And then we moved down to Georgia because son-in-law gets a job down here. And why did it take me till I was 69 to say, you know what? It's time for me to give Julie a call. And so there you have it. That was me before Live Your Vision. And I can tell you, if she wants to ask me what I took from the program,
I will in just a second, but I wanted to just highlight, because I wanted and double back on one thing that you said, because first of all, I hope you're all enjoying Linda the way I do and have for years. I actually met Linda back in Orange County in LA when we first lived there together, both of us at the time. And but the thing that I have loved in watching Linda is obviously this energy, this zeal. She's 70 years old and she's looking at her life through the lens that God has for her. And isn't that just spectacular? No wonder she sees life as getting better. And she obviously has this unique point of view, which is what I wanted to just touch back on, Linda, that life's supposed to get better. Like even as a high schooler, you believed that life was going to get better and better. I mean, I don't know how many of us actually think that, if we're really honest with ourselves. Do they think many of us think it's just a window in time that we have, and then it's a slow one. As one friend said to me, 40 years old, she looked across the table, we were having coffee, and she said to me, literally, I said, happy birthday, I'm so excited for you. And she said, I'm not. It's just a slow, slippery slope to the grave from here. My heart broke, Linda.
Yeah.
And here's the danger in that thinking. And this is why I wanted to have you on today. My friend, who was a USC graduate, master's actually, 3 children, husband, beautiful Christian woman. That was her outlook on aging. And I don't even want to tell you what happened, but in 3 years later, she died of this mysterious cancer. It was so heartbreaking to think that the way we think and what we believe has so much power. And one of the things that I have admired about you, Linda, from day one is with our work together is how much you're choosing. You choose. You recognize God's first gift to you was choice, and that we have choices. And so I wanted to just illustrate the difference between my friend, who seemed like perfectly healthy, but her outlook on aging was, it's a slow, slippery slope to the grave. As you said, the train has gone by, versus your outlook on aging, which is life is supposed to get better and better. And so though there may be lulls in it, there may be dips in the road, you do continue to believe in happy endings and life getting better. And so I just wanted to double back on that. And yes, it may be slower, but it's just more slow fun. I love these ideas. And so I just want to encourage each of you to examine your ideas about aging. What are your thoughts on aging? They are very important, regardless of whether you're 40, like my friend, or you're 70, like Linda. So please think about what are your thoughts on aging? And for those of you that are with us today, Linda and I have a lot of fun in our banter back and forth. And as you can tell, she's an animated storyteller. I'm wrapped in her stories. But please put your questions in the Facebook chat. We will double back. Linda and I both will revisit the group and answer questions. And if you want to have a further conversation with either Linda or myself, we're here for you. But please write your questions. Please put tell us where you're coming from. Any comments in the chat at all. But this is so important. The way that you think really determines how you feel, which determines how you behave and determines your outcome. Literally, chemicals are being dropped into your body via the thoughts you have in your brain. And so, Linda, let's talk a little bit more about that.
I've been like an amateur student of the brain. I keep reading articles. I keep being attracted to articles about the brain. Now that we know so much about it,
right?
Things that are scriptural, like you are being transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Right.
Oh my gosh, he meant it literally. He really made the brain.
Yes.
So chemicals in 21 days, the groove that goes this way can be changed to go this way. This is amazing. And now they've done this is about happy endings. They did experiments with babies. I mean, these were like infants that are like under a year old, or maybe just 13 months old, something like that. And they did this experiment with puppets. And these puppets, one of the puppets would either share his toy with the other puppet or wouldn't share his toy. And after the end of the first part of the experiment, the baby was asked to reach for one of the puppets. And the baby always reached for the puppet that shared. And if they were in the experiment where the puppet did not share, they always reached for the other puppet that got left out. It's like God he made our brains to desire justice, to desire the good things, to desire kindness, to desire the happy endings. Because we have this drive for resolution for all those good things. And I think that's why we have this urge to find the happy endings, and why it is so hurtful and disillusioning when we give up on believing in the happy ending in a very real way. When we stop believing in happy endings, or when we stop hold back from contributing to kindness, compassion, a little bit of selflessness here and there. I don't mean not self-care, but, getting your own oxygen mask on is important. But when we hold back a lot and we stop believing in the happy ending, we are literally hindering our good health. We're hindering our own confidence in a happy ending possibility.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, Linda, because I think this is so critical to all of us. I mean, I want to see role models for myself as I go on in life, and I'm 59. So I think about how much you've been a role model to me and up close and personal recently because of the spirit that you hold. Now, I will say this, Linda's got some great things that we glean together because whenever we work together with someone, it's literally like unwrapping a gift, as we mentioned earlier. So our work together in Live Your Vision in her case was just like, insight, revelation, takeaways. So Linda, share some of your takeaways. And I guess we get the point on why you joined Live Your Vision, because obviously you believe there's more. So we didn't have to go back to that question, but tell us a little bit about what did you get? What were some of the takeaways that you received?
Okay, if there was one mantra that totally changed me throughout the entire year, was be a student of yourself and not a judge.
Oh.
I can't tell you how many moments I was working at, moving something forward, and the judgment would start like, oh, why didn't you do this yesterday or something? And I would say, student, not judge. And if there's one thing I need to cling to now as I proceed, it's be a student of myself, learn from this, not a judge. And I think the second one was we learned to celebrate small victories and the wins, the small steps toward a goal. And now I've embraced this phrase that I do use a lot mentally, pushing the needle forward. I will sometimes, what will come in my head at the end of a week on a Friday is, what have I gotten done this week? And then I remind myself, wait, I made that phone call. They didn't call back, but I made the phone call. I pushed the needle forward. I didn't make the next podcast, but I did work on the story. It's halfway to being written now.
I love it.
I'm pushing the needle forward. And so I'm constantly reminding myself of that. And I've let people in more.
Yeah.
Because belief has become a real big, major, all-around takeaway. The importance of belief for everyone, for children to know that they're important to God and they can make an impact, and by being honest and whatever. And for older people to know that they can still make an impact, and that that kids from 18 to 25 who don't have families, they need help. They need moral support. They need practical support. And there's always something important for you to do, and God's prepared something for you to do. So letting people in more, and I've stopped being afraid to let people show signs of not believing in me. I'm giving people a chance to show me that maybe they do believe in my mission and my part in it. And so that's really important to me.
Well, you mentioned, again, you touched on several things there. The mindset piece about really recognizing your own wins is what we call it in our community, day in and day out. And that's what we train on. We train all of our participants to recognize wins, small, like Linda said, sometimes they're very small, which was what she's referring to with pushing the needle forward. Maybe I didn't complete the podcast, but I did, in fact, work on the story. So we're training the brain. Now, what's happening is this physiology of your brain is being changed. I often say, as a matter of fact, I said it yesterday in one of our beginning classes, I wish that we could do a brain scan before women start Live Your Vision and then an after brain scan for Live Your Vision, because it's like a makeover. Because what happens internally, it literally is the physical manifestation of that scripture that says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And so it literally happens, that very thing. So if we could see the difference in what our brains look like before and the difference in what our brains look like after, we'd be shocked, because it physiologically changes. It totally changes. And those thoughts you mentioned, the training the mind to look for the little wins. I think the other thing is, as we get older, we get worse at that, unless we're intentional, unless it's conscious, right? And the idea of you believing that you must hang on to happy endings. Like, you know what? There is a happy ending. And if you don't believe it, if you don't believe there's a happy ending in sight, if in your heart right now, for those of you that are listening, that there is not a happy ending, that you don't have that as a conviction, and that life is getting better, then please reach out to us, because we want to help right whatever maybe physiology that could be off a little bit with some thinking is going on. There are ways to retrain the brain, to restructure the brain, to do it. Sometimes it's not an overnight process, right, Linda? This is work that
absolutely not.
That's why we take the year and we work on it day in and day out for a year, because then it becomes a part of the hardware. That's one thing that we found. Even in Linda's graduation, it hasn't slowed her down. As a matter of fact, she's at a singles retreat right now. Okay. What 70-year-olds do you know at a singles retreat, right? Seriously, life is getting better, and there's happy endings. That's what Linda believes. So Linda, tell us a little bit about, because it seems only natural. You talked about making belief in people. Please tell us what you would say has been a result of our work together at Live Your Vision, because there's been so many things, and you mentioned them again, so I'll bring them up.
Okay. First of all, you mentioned a scripture, and my favorite scripture about aging is, if the roots of your tree are planted by the stream, then the leaves will remain green. So, yes, my brain is being made over more than my hair. And one of the things that came out of this was I had already written and rewritten a children's story called Caterpillar Song in verse form. And my desire to direct publish it became a podcast for telling bedtime stories and tucking kids in at night. It's called Bedtime Stories with Nini. Nini is my grandma name. So it's available on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. And also what came out of it was a second, dream of mine that I've been wanting to push forward, is a movement that I'm calling Call Us Family. It is now a Facebook group. So if you ask me to be friends with you, look up Linda Lee Fields Steelman on Facebook. I'll friend you. I'll invite you to be part of Call Us Family, a Facebook group that I hope will eventually be a website that builds a village of charitable organizations and volunteer mentors to help give practical and moral support to 18 through 25-year-olds without family. And my whole concept, hashtag let's make belief, that's going to be part of everything, because children need belief when they're being tucked in at night in their growth. Young people becoming adults need belief. They need to know other people believe in them. And we all, as we're aging, need to know that people believe in us. We certainly need to know that God believes in us. So cling to that first. God didn't put these things in you and these thoughts and these dreams in you for no reason. There is a reason. You might be confused about the reason, but there is one. So don't give up and cling to that and keep those roots planted by the stream, knowing God loves you, and just keep searching, keep asking yourself the tough questions and believing you're going to get an answer. And you'll be so shocked what God sends your way.
I think it's so fun. Okay, so there's one other thing we didn't mention that happened for Linda during our time together. Linda, you lost 20 pounds, right?
Oh, yeah. I would so like to think that would have happened anyway. But because every decade, I'm pushing 50. I got to lose this 25 pounds. Oh, I'm pushing 60. I have to lose this 28, 29 pounds, that I gained back over the decade. Here I was, 68, 69, and of course off COVID too. I needed to drop 30 pounds, and I did drop 30 pounds. And I was just determined that since God was changing all these other things, and I was building these tiny habits that were making life more streamlined toward the things I wanted to focus on, I should focus on the tiny habits that would keep me healthy and strong. I had already been a good hydrator. I hydrate all in her. But I needed to build more habits, and I needed to get that weight down so that I could let those tiny habits keep my maintenance, and I wouldn't go through this by 80, because I don't think I can lose another 30 pounds at 80. I don't know. I mean, maybe God could do it, but yeah, maybe he could, but I don't want to.
Right. Well, I just wanted to point that out because it's just another manifestation of when you change and work on you and your brain. And so who are the recipients of this, Linda? I mean, honestly, all those that get to enjoy the bedtime stories, what a sweet tradition that you've restored via the podcast. Okay, such a modern vehicle for restoring such a sweet and delightful tradition. And so that just tickles my heart. And 70-year-olds having your own podcast, that's just amazing. And then your concept, your movement that you're creating, we are family. I'm sorry, call us family. And that's just which I have no doubt. You said hope, but I'm gonna challenge you a little bit, my friend. Not hope for it when God does that. You're planning for that now, and I know that we'll continue to walk together to see that in fact happen. But it's interesting how many characters in the Bible really had their best years at the end, right? Was
Caleb.
it Job, Caleb, Moses, right? How many of them had just so many wonderful years, the best years at the end and the happy ending? Enoch, right? I mean, it just goes on and on with these different Ruth. I mean, over and over and over. Esther, so many have just believed, but we don't remember those people that had the happy endings, that had a better life in the end when they got older. So I want to encourage everyone that's listening to do your own Bible study, look at the ones that have had a great life and a second chapter that's better after than before. Job, yes. Because Linda has just been a great illustration that it's not just biblical times that happens for, but it's truly modern times as well. But it is dependent on your mindset. So I was going to close us here, Linda, but would you give us any last conversation? I mean, before I do that, I will say just reach out to Linda. She mentioned where she could be reached out to. And if you want to talk with us, we have complimentary vision sessions that we offer, which are complimentary coaching calls, so that we can help you map out your steps and create your ideal next chapter. We love doing that. It is our heart's desire to do that and equip as many women with a roadmap as possible to go forward with their dream. But Linda, what would you say is any last words or imparting thoughts for our listeners today?
I woke up in the middle of the night and left myself a message on the phone. I knew that this is something that I wanted to say to my former self.
Yes, please.
I knew a lot of people needed to hear this. When was the last time you felt that spark of excitement about something that you really wanted to do and you knew you could do it? And then how long have you set it aside for? And how much time goes by between the other times that you think of it? The times when you stop and wonder when or if there might still be a chance of maybe doing that. Pick it up again. God is waiting. He's ready to move you forward. He's ready to open a door. He's ready to open a window. Don't stop here. Pick that up because you have that coming back to you for a reason.
I love it, Linda. Thank you so much. Honestly, Linda and I could chat all day about aging and her ideas and all of that. There's so many beautiful chat messages coming in. I want a happy ending. I want to do these challenges. I want to believe. Thank you for letting us start our Saturday this way. So as I said, ladies, we will double back. Linda and I will visit you in the Facebook group, and so that you can reach out to us. That way, Linda will be able to kind of make herself visible and you can reach out to her for a chat. And I'll put also the link to have a vision session with us. But if you enjoyed today and you are watching this even in a replay, definitely like it. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and, go ahead and share it. We know that is part of the drill here, but if it's at all helpful, do share it. But thank you so much for joining us today, all of you. And thank you, Linda, for your continued. If you've never met Linda in person, you're missing out. One of the things I love about Linda is that you will see that she is this tiny little, like a little bit like a butterfly. And she flits around from person to person, and just with so much energy, zeal, and zest for life that you can tell she's done a lot of work on her internal wiring. She doesn't move like a 70-year-old. She moves like she's 17. And she is, she to me is the inspirational fountain of youth with so much hope and belief that the best is yet to come and a happy ending awaits. So Linda, thank you so much for your incredible view on aging, for your work that you've done. Thank you so much for your love for God and for all of the people that have gotten to benefit from your love.
Can't wait to hear from people.
Yeah. Awesome. Love you all. Have a great Saturday.